everybody, because today I'm going to show you something pretty amazing. So whenever I am not flying, I'm thinking about flying, and I love looking at what's going on in the sky when I'm down here on the ground. So one of the ways that I'm able to do it is live flight tracking through FlightAware. And what I'm going to show you actually is how to build an ADS-B receiver for the ground using a Raspberry Pi for hardly no monies whatsoever. So to give you a brief overview real quick, FlightAware.com, it's a paid-for service. It's about $90 a month for the paid service. For the free service, there's a ton of restrictions, and the live flight tracking, one of the most important parts of this website amongst others, is limited. They have a time limitation to it. So this is a great resource for pilots here. Give you a brief overview before we get into it. As you can see, I am already a Prime member on this, an enterprise member as I put it. And what I can do is I can see delays, I can find flights, I can do the live tracking, I can find random flights, IFR route analyzer, weather information, METARs, all types of stuff. It gives you toolboxes. It's even got a TV channel component to it, which broadcasts different videos concerning flights. It's got all types of weather information, of course, post, blogs, so on and so forth. It is just absolutely amazing. I can't say enough good stuff about this. Not sponsored. Wish. But the part that we're going to hone into is the unlocking of all of this totally for free, as far as not having to pay for any type of subscription service. The only trade-off is that you have to build an ADS-B receiver using a few simple components that I'll show in just a minute. And what I do is I just let that run all the time, all day long. And what it gives you is an immense amount of information. So without further ado, I will show you what you need for the actual receiver, how to set up the software, and a little bit more in-depth information on what you get on FlightAware. So here we go. Alright, to get this ADS-B receiver hooked up, you only need a few components, and it's recommended actually that you use a Raspberry Pi 3. However, I have two of the smaller Raspberry Pi Zero. It has to be the W. Make sure you have Raspberry Pi W. I'll add to the description in the website there. And the W has the built-in Wi-Fi, so it's pretty important that you have that. That way you don't have to buy another component, which is the Wi-Fi dongle. They're inexpensive, but it's something that you just don't want to worry about. So basically, to go through the list of materials that you need a power cable, which is just a regular micro USB power cable. I'm sure everybody has a ton of those. The new ELEC, or however you pronounce it, and what this is just the little SDR and DVB-T. The standard receiver there will do just fine. Again, I'll put links to all these. The Raspberry Pi Zero W, again, the W is important there if you're using this type of Raspberry Pi. Again, it's recommended that you use the Raspberry Pi 3. They're similar in price, so either one's just fine. The Raspberry Pi 3 is just a little bit more powerful. An 8 gig SD card. You don't need really anything past that, because the only software you're going to be running is the software from FlightAware. So 8 gigs is just fine, and it's pretty cool because the software updates are pretty regular on this, and it's just pushing a few buttons online, so really super easy. This is an adapter, and the adapter is a USB plug from a smaller micro USB to a full size USB. So all that needs to be done is you stick this If you're using the smaller, the Raspberry Pi Zero, into the USB slot, and then you stick the actual receiver unit into the other end there. So really simple how that works. Representation there, since I'm working with one hand. Pretty easy. The antenna just hooks right into the receiver here. And I've noticed that the antenna that comes with these two come together, works really well. I've used a bunch of other antennas and they don't seem to work as well as this little cheapo antenna. I've used everything from a satellite dish to regular just wire sticking out of this to coaxial cable, the whole shebang. This is probably the best. There's a few other antennas out there that are probably a little bit better, but this is free. This comes with this, and you're good to go with that. You'll pick up all kinds of stuff. I have these antennas taped to my windows so they have a pretty good view of the sky, and they work great. And just to dress it up, this is totally optional, is just a case for this one. My other Raspberry Pi that I have that's running all the time with FlightAware software, I don't even use a case. I just have this SD card that of course connects into it, the receiver, the power, and the adapter. And that's it. This is all you need. Once you have these pieces here, with the optional case if you want to make it look snazzy, then you're ready to go. So what I'll do next is I'll show you how to put the software onto the memory card, and that's it. You're done. So now I'm going to show you how to install the software on your SD card for your Raspberry Pi so you can start receiving flight data from aircraft and ADS-B transmitters. It's extremely easy. The FlightAware people did a great job with this. So it's just a few steps and then you are ready to go. So the first place you want to go to is Etcher.io. Etcher.io is the application that actually burns or puts the information onto your memory card so your Raspberry Pi is able to read it. So I will add the address to the description below. It's just Etcher.io. You download that piece of software there, and then the address PiAware, so on and so forth. This is the URL to download the actual PiAware software. So these are the only two things that you need to download, and the description for both will be down below. So once you've downloaded both, run Etcher. It helps if you run it as administrator. All you have to do to run it as administrator is to right click and then select run as administrator. After that you select the image, so where you downloaded the second file, the PiAware SD card software there, so you open that. Number two is you make sure, and this is super important here, that you've selected the right memory card. If you have multiple memory cards or multiple USB drives or an external hard drive attached to your computer, this may want to wipe that drive clean. So make sure that the correct memory card is selected here. To be sure, you can just click that change button and then select the appropriate SD card. Then once you're done selecting the correct card, you hit the flash button. When you hit the flash button, the software will be burnt or put on your SD card. It's nothing permanent. You can erase or format this card over and over again and add other software, but for this, once you hit the flash button, it will totally wipe the card clean and put a new copy of this image on there. So after you hit the flash button, it'll take a few minutes to go through and verify. You go into the SD card by going to your Explorer here. I just made a shortcut to get there easier. And you scroll down to where you see PiAware config. Once you double click that, it'll give a configuration file. The only thing that you have to change is go down to where it says wireless SSID and wireless password. This is going to enable the Raspberry Pi to link to your network so it can transmit and receive information to the FlightAware.com website. So the SSID is the actual network that you normally connect to. If you want to find that out, you're most likely connected to a network now. All you have to do is click on the lower right hand corner of your screen the network tool there, and it will bring up all of the networks and it will show the one that you're connected to. If you're connected to the internet, chances are you already know what it's called. Only caveat to this is make sure that you have all the capitals where they need to be. It is case sensitive. Secondly, just as the SSID is case sensitive, the password's case sensitive. None of this information is going to be released. It's kept within the Raspberry Pi. It's just merely used to connect to your network. That is all. So once you've done that, you just go to File, Save. File, Save. Close that out, and then merely eject the SD card. And that will make sure that the files on there remain non-corrupted, and you're ready now to put the SD card in your Raspberry Pi. Alright, and once you've finished installing the software on the SD card, you just slide it right into the Raspberry Pi. It's the same way with either the Pi Zero or the Raspberry Pi 3. The power cable to the power inlet, the USB adapter if you're using a adapter. If not, you just plug it right into the Raspberry Pi 3 if you're using one of those, and literally that's it. And then of course you take the antenna, stick it in the antenna jack right there, and then place it somewhere where it can see the sky. You might want to play around with it a bit and kind of stick it in different places to see how your reception is, but generally you can stick it in a window and you're good to go. I know that my curtains usually hide mine, and I don't even know it's running, and I get the service totally for free just having this guy run 24/7. Plus it's kind of neat to see how I stack up against the other base stations within the area. Now, since you've put the Raspberry Pi together and the software is loaded in the SD card, the next thing that you have to do, and the last step that you have to take, is go to the FlightAware and claim and link a brand new PiAware ground station. So the link's going to be down in the description as always. And what you do is basically you click this big blue button that says check again for my PiAware, and what that does is it links the website to your PiAware, and it gives you the super user or the enterprise subscriber status, which opens up the entire website. So what that means basically is you have access to every single thing that FlightAware has to offer. Weather reports, METARs, live flight tracking, all of the other products that they have for you. Two of the main pieces of or two resources that I use more than anything is the live flight tracker. You're able to see the information of everything overhead, and it runs continually. It's great. And you can see the planes currently in the sky, all the information, where they're going to, where they're going from, so on and so forth. History information, weather, it's all there for you. Secondly, I like to enter in my tail number, and what that'll do is it'll give me information about the flight that I previously went on. So like all the other flights out there, it'll carry my logs, it'll give me my graph information, so I'm able to see how well I was staying on course, if I had any type of deviations, what they looked like, if I was close to any weather. Of course, you're supposed to check for that, but regardless. Details of your flight that you normally wouldn't get through any other source. This is able to give it to you, and it's able to give it to you totally free. Of course, I could go on and on about this website and everything that it can give you. Again, not sponsored by them, but just love what they're able to give you for spending a few bucks and leaving your Raspberry Pi on all day, which takes hardly no power whatsoever to give you all this information, a total wealth of information. So it's absolutely amazing what you can get for spending a little time building this little tiny receiver and uploading that information. Everything's automatic. All you do is log in and you're ready to go. One of the other things that I was going to show you real quick is if you go to the MyADSB receiver, you actually have a view of what's going on with your receiver by doing the MyPi link there. So again, MyADSB and then FlightAware SkyView. It's a web interface that shows you the raw data that's coming from your base station. And I don't live over there, but if I zoom in, my FlightAware is not giving any information because it's not hooked up right now, but it'll show you the live flight data and the raw data that the receiver is receiving. So it's a pretty amazing device and it's a pretty amazing service, so I recommend highly just putting one of these together, spending a few bucks and a few minutes to see what you can actually get from this. So if anybody has any questions, just leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to respond to anybody if you have any concerns or questions or problems, and I'm here for you. Like always, stay safe out there because we're all in this together.